Okay, well, let's kick this off. This is La Foi et le Glaive. It's Wish, very dip-like game. I've written out the orders for the very first turn. I really do have to write them out. Now, the first thing that happened was the players get a chance to cut dip deals. I have this problem in a diplomacy game as well, which is I can't come to deals until I play the first turn. It's almost as though the first turn positioning determines my deals. It's a big difference between playing this solitaire for me and playing a dip-like game with actual opponents. Because with actual opponents, I'm cutting my deals, this, that, and the other. They might get backstab, whatever. Quite often, though, the turnout, the effect is really the same, which is a player kind of makes decisions on who they're going to cut a deal with or whatever. Either, and whether or not you made the deal beforehand or do this and then cut the deal, it feels very similar, which is to say the people who attacked you are attacking you. They probably want to do that anyway. This game in particular, though, unlike Dip, doesn't really seem to throw you into conflict with too many other people immediately. You don't have to cut a deal to survive right away, I don't think. There's a lot of room for expansion, a lot of minor spaces. And some of them don't, most of them don't have cities, that's true. But they do have some value, and there are some neutral cities that are available that seem like your power is already heading that way, that it would be hard to abandon. All right, let's try to follow this order then. We wrote the orders. Now we're going to read the religious orders. The first thing is the Byzantines' official religion. Hey, they're going to stay Orthodox. Okay, so Cilicia and Thrace are free for them. It doesn't matter that Cilicia is monophysite. But Egypt stays away. And of course Rome and Africa, they haven't managed to actually get control of those. They have control. They don't have loyalty. I don't know how to mark this situation. I'm going to kind of flip these counters to indicate this situation, but that's not 100% desirable. I'm thinking there's got to be some way of saying, hey, you got religious support in this area, but you don't have the control. I'm not sure how to do it, though. Okay, and in this case, they have control, but they don't have the religious support. And again, having the army there doesn't really matter. They've got control whether they leave or not, from what I can see. All right. Edicts of Tolerance and Holy War, nobody cut any of that because of, a lack of agreement. And Edicts of Tolerance are really kind of tricky. They're saying, hey, yeah, you can walk through me. You can't convert my people, but you can convert people who live with me. It just sounds dangerous to me, especially at this point. So now we go to the religious, and we get to start setting people up. And I've got priests here, supreme leader, spiritual leader, whatever, and then the secondaries. Let's take a look at what we have for the shamans here. They sent a priest into Venice, one into Russia. I've also got who they're trying to convert marked here, and they sent 2 into the Baltic states. That's kind of a strong move against the Norse, actually. Maybe an attempt to try to decide that issue, see who can win Europe, and then move down and maybe take on some of the bigger powers. Right now, it would be, I don't know, it's kind of painful to attack the Byzantines. Everybody wants to do it, but let's let other people do that. Let's expand where we can. Well, it might get us in trouble with the Norse. All right. But on top of that, we have the Donatians, who are going to go into Numidia and Africa. I'm going to fill out the rest of these and come back and show what happens based on where they are. Okay, well, everybody's kind of played out their pieces. we see the miners and otherwise have spread around the map to where they're going. Now, I had to make some corrections where there were errors. In a real game you wouldn't do this, but it's my first turn of a first time playing, so I'm a little bit willing. I sent the Patriarch to an illegal place where there was a boat. I thought, the boat probably moved before that. No, you gotta follow the sequence here, and the sequence is the religious stuff happens all before any of the military stuff. So, now, we're gonna have to deal with martyrdom. Let's see if there is any. This is kind of tough, because you gotta look. So, like, Africa. Well, I got 3 different people in Africa. There's no 2 religions there. So I was careful, I think. And this is going to be a tough thing in a big multiplayer game to keep track of all this. It's probably going to take a good 10-15 minutes to, verify. Yeah, nobody went into some place where they're doomed, because you might well not notice what you're doing in some cases. So, for example, these guys made it into Cernica. They're okay, that's their own religion. This is the Patriarch, but he made it in, he made it into Ethiopia. That's okay. Actually, there is no Patriarch. Damn. Remove him. There's no pale blue Patriarch. So that's gone. So, yeah, there's no monophysite Patriarch, because the official religion's Orthodox. You switch them out. Tried to cheat there, and let's get him off of there. Great. Okay. So there's not going to be any killing, and because nobody walked into armies, there's no martyrdom from that either. No big deal. So now we're going to go to fights between priests, and here we do have to find. So for example, here, these 2, they fight. They're not allied, and I gotta find them, where to drop them. So they're gone. Likewise, let's see what else. Oh, so this was a rules question I had. The Pope starts in Rome. Does it make sense that he can't stay there? I don't know. That's a hard call, and I'm unfortunately reading A Mighty Fortress at the same time, and I want to make sure that this is not the game. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is not. In that game, you can hide in cities with your missionaries, so I wanted to make sure I'm not allowing that. Here, we got 3 priests attacking each other. Well, they all just disappear. And nobody's going to get to convert anything there. Here, same kind of situation, except the Manichaeans sent in an extra guy, so they're going to be able to stay. Up here, the shamans sent an extra guy, so they get to stay. The Vikings and pagans don't. And I think I've cleared them all. If we find one that I haven't, we can worry about that. What's important to note is these are fine. There's no opposition there. And it's fine that he walked into an area that's got 2 religions against him, because he's just a patriarch. He's just a spiritual leader. That means he can convert people by going and just visiting. That priests would have to get stoned to do. Okay. So now we do populations converted and Jews flee. Now, in particular, I had to note in each single one of these what's getting converted in each area. Well, let's kind of work our way through, and I'll finish it up because I don't want to do them all on camera. But, well, let's look at this Viking here in Brittany. That's the supreme leader. He was getting rid of, I don't know if I can understand it, I think a Catholic. So he converts one of these Catholics into one of his little 69ers. And that drops the Catholic total and increases the pagan total. He can do that because, well, that's what the Supreme Leader can do. It can do a single conversion like that. Let's look at another one. Well, this is an army. That's not at play. So it's kind of hard to see. And you've got to look at every single one. Because here, this is an Arian. Well, I got to find who's got them. It's him. He's getting rid of a Catholic here in Castile. So what happens? Well, the Catholics are down another one. That goes here. And I got to hunt down an Arian marker to put here in Castile. And now they've expanded a little bit. And I'm going to do that with all of them, and we'll come back and see what kind of major changes might have happened. Well, we resolved some of those exchanges, including driving the Jews out of Cyrenaica into Tiberias, thereby eliminating an Islamic unit, which was the targeted effect. So they're kind of a cube power to be able to push them around and use them. Not only do you gain something, but you get rid of an enemy maybe where you don't have the ability to move in easily because maybe you can't get your Supreme Leader in two places at once or something. Let's see, where else do we have keys? We have this sorcerer getting power in the Bosporus, trying to push control over there so that he can make that an Avar kingdom. We had him win here in the Baltic states over the Vikings. The Vikings actually, you can see, did fairly well, as did Islam. The best were the Persian Mazdians. Basically, you get an advantage by not fighting with other players. And the Persians kind of concentrated against the Nestorians. Now, yes, they got defeated here in India, but they managed, you can see they're gaining a lot of power over here. That's going to make it tougher for the Nestorians. I think they're only going to have one priest next turn because they get one for free and one per 5, I think. We'll see how it goes, but I have to look at the numbering. Others get 1 per 5 straight up. So it's important to your growth to make sure you get these numbers up there. You can't let yourself lag. Now nobody fell behind, even though some people got kind of hit. We can see who? Well, the Catholics and the Monophysites. The Monophysites don't have a spiritual leader, and the Catholics have sort of struggles at this early part of the game. If they can unleash themselves, they think they can do pretty well. But I think they've got a lot of disadvantages the way things are set. Now let's see what the military is going to do, though. Because that's the next thing. We start reading the military orders and setting them up. Well, this is classic dip here, right? So I read this. A fleet from Dacia goes to the Bosporus. So this is going to be moving into the Bosporus. Now here's the problem. Unlike dip, this is not as simple a board. There's a lot more going on. So it's going to be hard to capture all of these actions. Let's see what else. An army, and they're also not as familiar, from Carpathia, I guess, goes into Illyria, where it's going to threaten those priests. I don't think it gets a chance to martyr them at this point. And then the final one is the army Pannonia gets to go up into Poland. Now these aren't resolved until everybody's movement is revealed. I'll come back and maybe do one resolution and then finish everything up. For the most part, we don't have any conflict. So, for example, the Vikings just come sliding down here, here, here. I could have transported across Sweden, but I want to get into there. That's why I felt this was a more flexible move. But let's look at the one conflict. It's right here. The Byzantines and the Persians both moved into Armenia here. Now, in a normal dip game, this is a bounce, but it's not guaranteed here. First of all, we have the patriarch here of the, well, he's not a patriarch, he's a archmage of the Mazdians. He doesn't affect anything because this isn't their spiritual center. He'd be a defensive bonus if he'd be a bonus to their forces if he was given just a defend order, but he'd been given a convert order, so that wouldn't matter anyway. However, what about the populace here? Let's look at what we have. We're in Armenia, and we see there's one of each. And here's the thing. This is not the proper religion for the Byzantines, though. That would be a bounce if that were an Orthodox one, but this isn't an Orthodox army, or this isn't an Orthodox area. It's a Monophysite area. So that means we're able to get in with this army. And that's kind of an interesting thing. You wouldn't see that in a diplomacy game, but there's a lot of interaction here between the religion, between this religious plane of the game and the physical plane. I'm going to finish up the rest of the movement, and then what do we come back for? Nobody made any prophecies, so then we go and look at the new priests and priest removal and make sure the numbers are good. Okay, so you generate priests at 1 per 5 population. But it's not like a dip type situation here. You don't have that limit. Your limit is actually 2/3 your population. So take a quick example. Let's take the Mazdian here. They're going to produce 4 new priests. They're allowed to have 16 on the board. Now, they only had 4 before. So 16 is not a problem. And these just show up in their spiritual center. And in fact, I'll do this for the rest of them. For the minors, it's a little different though. For the minors, let's see how theirs work. They appear on the map as priests, 1 priest for every 5. They go to a place designated by the player. I thought there was something else. They have no spiritual leader. On the other hand, as long as they have 1 or more populations, they have 1 bonus priest per turn in addition to the 1 for 5. So they're going to get at least 1 every turn as long as they're on the board. So let's take a look at our weakest of these, which was our good friends, say the Nestorians over here. Well, they don't have 5 areas. They only have 3 areas, but they still are going to get 1. And where can they put him? They could actually put him in either of these locations. I'm going to throw him here because it doesn't really hurt. There's nowhere else I can expand to. I'll fill out the rest of the priests, come back. Well, there's no real reason. I'll load this one up as soon as I'm done with that.